Which doesn't mean you can't stop talking. That you know we're starting to record.
Oh, okay. You want us to clean up our language or
Yeah,
something?
more person. Dang it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's call this meeting to order. It's a meeting of the Village of Shreveport Planning Board. And this is our regular monthly meeting. For October the 27th. Would everybody just please, finish the name?
I'm Joe Kuchar, member of the planning board. John Olberg, planning board.
Jessica Giles, Deputy Clerk, Deputy Treasurer.
Rick Geiger, Chair of the Planning Board.
Tom Myers, zoning officer, enforcement officer.
Michelle Matroni, Planning Board.
Mark Lugodavis, planning board.
All right, very good, thank you. We're gonna delay the approval of the minutes to the end of the meeting. And, just so we can move. We'll move that to after the new business. So this evening, we're doing something that's a little bit unusual for the planning board, actually. A site plan review for a single family residence. That's not normally the kind of thing that we apply site plan review. Usually it's some kind of commercial operation or some kind of a residential operation involving more than 40 units. Usually, bigger things. So applying a site plan review process to a single family residence is unusual. In fact, I've done it. So we're sort of writing a little bit of a clean slate, although it's not completely a clean slate because the ordinance has actually carved out a process for dealing with properties that are located in. There's also some other overlay districts and we set out also in the ordinance as well. The actual provision of the ordinance covers this, and that's one of the vessel looking at tonight. Is section 605 or 6, which is an overlay district. This is a rare circumstance where the planning board in determining whether something can happen. Think of it as like a residential district that has an overlay that also requires additional review. That happens for riparian situations, where streams and things like that also happens for. And it's laid out very specifically in the ordinance. And by looking at that, so that we're in that unusual situation tonight. It's also a little bit unusual because a prior determination by the zoning. So the Board of Zoning Appeals asked this because there was a variance application. The board has already reviewed that and has granted that variance. For a reduction in the required buffer from 50 to 40 feet. I'm interpreting that to mean because of the way the building is situated, that the reduction is as much as is necessary, so long as not reducing to 40 feet. That isn't in dispute tonight. That isn't something that has been decided. What we do now, basically follow the ordinance, look at the things that they ask us to look at. Sections of the gives us some project criteria that we are supposed to go through, decide whether there's any aspect of that that requires conditions or additional requirements moving forward, which will be an issue. So that's where we are. Like I said, it's a little bit of an unusual situation for us, but I think we have a pretty good roadmap. See, I'm confident that we can make sure that we're honoring the ordinance and what it requires, but also being reasonable and trying to look at the situation and like,
May I ask one quick question?
sure.
Did the BZA define where the cutout of the buffer would be, or is it the whole, it's not the whole length of that buffer on this property, is it?
No. The way the variance is worked is that they apply to the minimum extent possible. Right? So this buffer wouldn't be a 40-foot buffer along the entire distance of wetland. It'd be 100 feet, except where less is required because of the building. It can't be less than 40.
Is that essentially the footprint of the building?
That's essentially.
Which illustrated.
Yeah, right.
And, we can discuss with the applicant more about the status of that. Yeah, when the Board of Zoning Appeals allows a variance, it's to the minimum extent necessary. Okay, doesn't have precedent to that either. It's a case by case kind of situation. So if somebody else comes along and says, well, as little as 40 feet, this one, each case is taken on its own. That's the other important. That is another.
So whatever decision is reached here tonight is not precedent setting, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. It's based on particular facts that we have. And so, we don't have to be worried about setting a terrible precedent, in the future. Plus, we aren't going to have to worry about reducing the required 100-foot buffer to 40 for all purposes. Okay, so that's what we do sort of to get things rolling here tonight, to sort of understand it. I would like to, the applicants are here. Is there anything that you'd like to offer for us? I don't know if everybody has seen the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting that was held, but if you want to give us a little bit of background, that could sometimes be helpful.
Well, we're basically here to answer questions you may have. The property, it was family land, belonged to my parents. On that land, they established in 1988 a 60-tree apple orchard. We are currently doing for that in their honor. And we decided, that we would like to homestead on this land. Directly across from the property that I actually grew up on, which is Seneca, across the street in Seneca County. And so, in looking at how we would like and what best suited the one we felt the neighborhood, our privacy, the best way to maintain the orchard, have the house built, what would be most suitable for us, and fit in the neighborhood. We elected a spot that encroaches the wetlands. We knew that. So we understood that.
Actually, only the buffer.
Well, at the time, we decided to build a house, we started down the road. We knew the lines well.
Yeah.
And we looked into what was required in order to possibly even build it. And so wetlands have been established, and I'm gonna say kind of a random manner, sometime back. Aerial photographs from an airplane at however many thousand feet, and based on color and vegetation, it was established. So we decided that we were going to employ an engineering firm, Delta Engineers out of Syracuse, to come and actually do an actual boots on the ground delineation. They did that, and we studied that, and we decided where we wanted to place the house. And at that time, that's when we realized that we needed to come forward with a variance to reduce that 40 feet buffer, reduce the buffer to 40 feet where the house would be. It seemed logical. Anybody that's done, we welcome anybody to go over and walk in that. It's the highest part of the property and that we own. There is where the house would be. So we went through the process and met with the zoning board of appeals. They saw favorably for granted. That's kind of the backstory of why we're here and what we're trying to do.
Okay, so just one of those clarifying things. So there's 3 properties here now, but we understand that I've seen some documentation that they're going to be consolidated and effective, I think, in March. You'll have one tax lot, basically. And so that explains why you don't have to do with things like setbacks. Yeah. Because there's no lot line, there won't be any lot lines in March. So we're just going to assume that the board account approval said that.
And that was discussed, the timeline for the Tompkins County. approval was discussed.
Okay, good.
I did speak with county assessment about it, and they said, yeah, this is just the calendar we do these consolidations on. It's good as done except for the pay.
Right. And so this is just a lot line.
Yeah.
Adjustment.
Well, they're going to consolidate. They're getting rid of this.
Getting rid of these lot lines. Okay, good. All right, and so that's that. Is there any other questions?
I think I remember reading something about the advisement of the water runoff to be directed away from the wetlands and not to drop from that. It does seem like if we could get it sort of to be going to north. Stay out of that area. So I assume other plans for that.
Then we worked into the plan.
I don't know, I guess there's no sort of requirement or anything, right? It's just kind of what the advisement was from.
We agreed that we would do everything to control water runoff. By way of diversion or even structure control of the watershed.
I think I recall that the idea was the board imposed a condition that they thought we should. Was that right?
Yeah.
All right, so their recommendation to us was to have a condition.
Like that's the least that should be done in the case that we have this same thing about 100 feet. Or
My understanding from this is the driveway would not be in the buffer. So it's already built from the buffer.
Yeah, it would be, unless it's going to come that right to the.
it's interesting, it looks like the Realty Trust owns the property kind of on both sides of the turnaround by this map. And then
Yeah.
that little slice of land that's between. So it's like we'd be getting some sort of permission to build a driveway.
We're gonna approach piece of the road.
Yeah, that-
Oh,
Okay.
so where is that going to terminate? That's not.
They're terminated with the northwest corner of showing the structure shown on.
All right, so it will not get to the buffer
Maybe I was confused maybe by some of the correspondence that I read from neighbors saying that maybe that was like a serious potential to build on that, off of that.
There again, when we first started the thought process of developing that land into a home, you know, it seemed logical that, you know, a short driveway.
Right.
Off that circle might be a good option, but based on, getting an easement and abilities with, the property, that's, you know, with the virgin. Who knows when that's gonna be settled, you know, it's in probate, we didn't want to wait for that, and based on the orientation of the house, it sort of made more sense, even though it's gonna be much longer. So,
Yeah. I'm encouraged, you to think about, you know, any kind of surfaces for that, that could reduce runoff, just as a general best practice. Looks like that would be less affecting the wetland directly, so it's something different.
A lot more driveway.
Yeah.
320.
Any other questions? How about construction staging? One of the things we're looking at is potential for construction activity. So have you thought about the staging process? What kind of structures it's going to be?
It'll be a wood frame, crawl space. It'll be wood frame, single level on a crawl space. Yes, you know, there will be staging that will be needed, you know, we will try to not to have, no, we never want to have material staged for long periods of time. So hopefully the material as it shows up, will be put in place. I don't think staging in the buffer or close to the wetland will be a problem, but we will have to access from all sides. Also equipment. So.
There's an existing barn that you can see on the map,
Yeah.
and that's gonna have a stone drive in front of it, and then the drive will also wrap around in front of the house. Driveway going in now, and the staging of the material happening in that drive between the houses.
And you are.
Sound.
Oh, or-
He's gonna comment.
All right. Okay, so most of the staging is gonna happen. North side.
Yeah, I mean, good practice to stage stuff on stone, on top of cribbing rather than.
Yeah, and then so, there would be any thought of access from Sunrise Terrace.
Only thing that we were trying to think about is to make access to sewer,
Hmm.
which I did talk to Archie's son about that. I think that would be our best way to try to get water away from any of the stuff is to access. But again, it's kind of one of those things you're still up in the air because that is not,
Yeah,
in the that, so.
so the only other alternative would be. It's outside.
you know, there's gonna-
So
that's our only
have
option.
so Sunrise Terrace is the option.
Or something.
Or something, right, or something.
Or-
Where the septic have to be located inside that buffer as well. Can't be.
Yeah. It's funny, the way the ordinance is set up, there are things you can do. and then everything else.
That helps our working with too, from a wetland, how far different features of the septic system.
I'm just thinking that road to the, hospital figures. If you've got questions that would bear on that.
Well, given the fact that there's a 300-foot driveway, do you have a idea of what materials you'll use for that?
It'll be box out, there'll be filter fabric, then there'll be item 4, 8 inches. And then there'll be a stoneware, what through construction, and after construction, the limestone pressure run topping.
That's right, you're from a family of builders, I
The
forgot.
driveway's already in. the culvert.
Oh, really? Okay.
We just finished it yesterday.
So it is porous to, yeah, good.
The budget doesn't allow for the paving. Yeah, I think that would be covered. All right, so that's sort of our item 3 here, so preliminary review of the site plan materials, questions for the applicant. So we also have scheduled this for a public hearing tonight. Unless anyone wants to pursue something else, I'd like to ask for a motion. Is there such a motion? Second? Discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we've now opened the public hearing. Tom, have you received anything other than what we got?
Dave Field.
Jerry Krause?
There's something after that.
I just wanted to make sure that that was in the file. It had been sent out to you, by you electronically earlier, but we have a David Means letter and 2 from the folders, which I have copies of if someone didn't get a chance to see that, and then Jerry Krause. There's one other, which is also in the file. David Means was handwritten. I have copies if anyone feels like they want to read. But you did receive everything except for the Krause one. As of today, but Rick sent that out to you. Yeah. But isn't from earlier.
Okay, and I see Peter, are you here? Do you have public?
No, I have neither plus or minus, I'm curious.
Uh-huh.
It's not my block. And interested to see what's going on.
Yeah.
We have no virtual participants.
Okay. We received the written comments. Not received. other comments. So, close.
So move. Turnabout fair.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing has been opened and closed as required ordinance. And now, we can move on to the planning board review. One of the things that we need to do, we need to do 2 things. Go to the seeker. Part 1 has been submitted in connection with the variance request. I'm told by Tom that through by the Board of I think technically we need to do that too, because it is required under the ordinance. So what I'm supposed to do on that is go through. Like see if we have anything in addition that we think, needs to be handled. You or just the other thing I think we need to do is through section 605.2, the project review criteria, to make sure that we have covered all of the required topics. In the ordinance, before- If any, we'd like to vote. So in terms of the environmental review, let me find that. Yes. Okay, so this is I'm looking at the short environmental assessment form, which you require to be in site plan review as part of the application. This one was submitted as part of the application for purposes of the variance request. But I think for our purposes, it's going to be marginal. So, does anybody need a copy?
ZBA.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Just make sure that.
Yes, that would be okay.
all right, so what we need to do is just page through this. So we can, doesn't, the number one, does the proposed action involve legislative action? Et cetera. No. Two. Three. Information. Correct. Uses of the current land. Use of agriculture and residential. That appears to be correct. So, five, is a proposed action, permitted use under the regulations, yes, it is. So, plans,
Sure.
it's certainly not inconsistent with it. And so, our quick words for that, yes. Is it consistent with the common character of the existing built or natural landscape? Well, a single family home. Is property. Pretty much our definition. Is the site located in the joint critical environmental area? No. Defined term. Will the proposed action result in a substantial increase in traffic? No. Public transportation service is available out on the site. Pedestrian accommodation, bicycle. Seems to be right. Does the proposed action meet or exceed the state energy code requirements? Yes, I guess.
Well, it's the site they're looking at.
Right.
Dealt with this a few other times.
Yeah.
We're not projecting what is proposed to be built on the site. And the code now. keeps all of the environmental, energy requirements as opposed to, laws. Those that will require to meet energy standards, which would satisfy this.
Proposed action, connect to the existing private water supply. Will the proposed action connect to the wastewater utilities? And here they hope to connect to the sewer, so we don't really have to consider that.
We say if not.
But yeah, yeah. Well, the answer would be, in that case, if no. So, yeah, we could add that. So it's to be determined, but either choice is still. Does the site container is substantially contiguous to the building part? Well, what's the limitation? Is there risk of historic places or parts, et cetera? It's not any of those things. These projects that are unfortunately located adjacent to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites. That question is not answered on here. Do we know?
Early on, I looked into this, not in this project, but overall for the village and the sites in the village.
The answer to that would be no. Okay, does any portion of the site, the proposed action contain wetlands or water? Yes. Is it the altar? Water. The answer is yes, but I'm not actually sure that that's the case. This is not, it's not actually encroaching. Or- Oh, that's a local, not important local. But it does not make it a wetland. So I think the answer to that. We had statements, I think, that you got.
I had conversations with the New York State EPA and the federal Army Corps of Engineers. There are no EPA wetlands in DC, excuse me. Yes, I misspoke there. There are no DC wetlands in the village of Windsor. There are federal wetlands. So we deal with Army Corps of Engineers on that. They say they have no boundaries. It is only the drawn wetlands on the maps, and what happens up to that, up to those boundaries is not under their purview.
This is sort of an aside, but I found it quite curious how the federal designated wetlands are right across Prospect Street. And then the county designated ones kind of leave that buffer, so it's like the lumpiness of multiple layers of government. It makes me wonder, like, what the road, like the Prospect Road around. Seems like something to miss there, right, from the get over this particular test, but.
All right, so the answer to that is going to be no. Move on here. Let's see. Habitat types, forest, wetlands, suburban. Does the site of the proposed action animals. Floodplain. Action creates stormwater discharge on point or non-point sources. The stormwater discharge flow to adjacent. Yeah, Tom, I just wasn't kind of clear on what stormwater discharge is.
Well, that would be what comes off impervious surfaces on the property. Right now, the roots on that structure would be actually minute, did a little birth check on that. For the percentage of roof versus the non-buffer area.
Okay, so there will be some.
First one could be a no.
Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean that changes our decision.
Well, I think Nick brought up the point about adjacent properties.
Will the proposed action create stormwater discharge? That is I think it's probably wrong. The answer to that should be yes. The stormwater discharge is flow to the properties. They're possible.
How do you know?
I mean, yes, eventually.
So, you know, again, you can answer yes, or no, but it doesn't mean that. Change determination. That we can control. Let's see, will stormwater discharge be directed to establish conveyance system? I don't believe in.
That is.
Does the proposed action include construction of other activities? Has the site of the proposed action adjoining property been the location of an active or closed solid waste management? Hey. All right, and Tony, has the site of the proposed action or the adjoining property been the subject of remediation? Or completed? No. All right, so we've gone through this. And now, the next step is to determine whether we think this action, based on the answers to these questions, discussion, further discussion, and then whether there be a substantial impact on the environment. Not. I'm going to put it this way. I think that to the extent that there could be impacts on wetlands, I think those can be addressed. Conditions. Determine that,
We're saying no, I guess we're going to say no to all of these questions. Are we basically saying no to all of these?
we're not saying that all, some of them are yes.
Oh, I mean, in the, sorry. in the-
Oh, I know.
We didn't,
So I handed out a blank part two,
Okay.
make sure that you get there, so that folks could see it, so I'm not sure we're
Okay.
stopping.
Right.
No, because right now, before you was part one, and you're assessing that going, do you need to move forward?
This is where we need to get to this. So,
Yeah. Just info.
that's what you get. for being prepared.
Sorry, causes confusion in July.
Okay, so
I'll move,
okay,
move on.
is there a second?
I'll second.
There's some hesitation, so is there a discussion?
Wondering about, so I just want to feel confident in the conditions that we do. Sure, because we have an ordinance for a reason,
Right.
so we prevent harm, and we want to, offer them stop the sites. The conditions that are set do actually. make it so we don't prevent harm.
Well, I think one way to approach this would be to table this for a bit while we actually think about how we craft, our decision. Site plan, and then address this again and say. that, mitigate concerns, that could have arisen, from the review. Conditions are, that would be enough there. Certainly. environmental consequences and possible, try to mitigate those. So I think we can defer that maybe until after, so some kind of meeting with the minds. We address those to make sure we. Find so we, so why don't we do that? We'll table that for now. And move on to thinking about how we want to handle it. To approve it. Whether we want to gather more information. Yeah.
And I think this is conversation. Maybe it's all forming now. But what we are really talking about here is adding some of the impervious area inside of the buffer zone. Being in the construction. Here's also. Really two things to consider, right? Water quantity and water quality. So we're talking about water quantity, 100 square feet of impervious area that we're adding to that water is collected, right? Discharged somewhere at the base of the house. Let's just say we discharge that with the wetland. We're roughly 50 feet from the wetland. The lawn is slope of a couple of percent. Most of the water is going to be absorbed down to the wetland, but some percent of that water. The wetland is roughly 15, 16 acres, 657,000 square feet. You know, it's basically, you can't calculate the impact of the bottom of water. It's thousands or less in terms of water per square footage. In terms of water quality, you know, we're talking about not collecting still. There are some nutrients naturally that are in the asphalt roof that gets to get into the water. A lot of that is filtered out through the ground. And so the quality of that is really not that much different. And so that was really kind of the basis for why we felt comfortable from here. Saying, we think this is really reasonable. We think that we're not doing anything detrimental. And make sure we're respecting,
This doesn't apply necessarily to the checklist per se, but as long as we have an opportunity for some dialogue, it would be interesting to me to hear a few other things. Visiting the site, it's pretty clear that there's a forest edge along that wetland area there. Do you anticipate any alteration of that, tree removal or whatever?
There's that, we'd like to develop in lawn space, but knock down some of the brush and clean up some of that trees. A lot of dead trees, fall trees in there that are decaying. Yeah, we would want to do a little cleanup. We want to do anything. Certainly, I can put structures up.
The grading?
No.
I think everything we consider is consistent. If you look at the it specifies like what ground maintenance includes, right? And
What would be the relationship of this house to the two houses that are on Sunrise Terrace? Is there any thought about how that fits into a context?
The house is going to be pretty much in line with Sunrise. So it's going to be in line with the residences that are on the north side of Sunrise Terrace. There's a hedgerow between it, which we cleaned up some, but you know, that's kind of a natural fence.
then Sunrise Terrace and that will be maintained even further more developed with probably some selective. Create a natural fence.
Now, will you be surrounding it with lawn or more native plants, or what's the
Well,
thoughts about that?
we definitely want lawn
Uh-huh.
around the house, and still lot gardens.
Mhm.
There's perennial.
Mhm. And you'll continue to manage the orchard?
As much of it's left the way it's done.
Uh-huh.
And that now, things going.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of apple trees are uprooted.
Yeah, maybe that's the house.
Mhm.
It's up to them.
Mhm.
If you saw the property, I don't know if you know, there are, pink flags tied to
Yeah.
some of the. That's the delineated line of the wetland. There isn't much beyond that hedgerow. It's not in the wetland, so if you know, that gives you a sense of what's coming back from those lines to where the buffer ends up being based on there.
Mhm.
We also planted 7 trees.
Sorry.
We also planted 7.
Oh, did you?
trees.
Okay.
That's on the top side.
You'd like to see the location of where the houses in the neighborhood is.
Okay. Well, sure. Yeah, no, I'm sort of interested in the exposure of the house to Sunrise Terrace and this as a kind of a unit. I don't know whether you see this as kind of the backyard or the part of this grouping of buildings. I mean, that essentially the front of your building will be fronting on Seneca or fronting on,
So it is the barn there.
yeah,
So if you come dip down into the left, that's the front of the garage. So the front of the house faces Seneca.
okay,
Right, yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
So behind the house, the south side, you run into the buffer right away. Yeah, well, and even looks to me like it's less than 100 feet. Even a little bit, I think. So what kind of plans do you have for behind?
More of a patio.
I think what I was thinking. Most of the buffer area is talking about section 1.
Right.
And I don't think there's any. South of the house. That's like. This is not that big. We can start at the start. Is that one? That's right. So that southern corner is one area that does kind of encroach very closely to the back line. But the rest of it were. That opens up. So there's going to be some brush and creation of lawn, which is allowed in that. Love to see that part not be one. I don't know. Not so much on the property, but that too. That holds, that we need to have some mesh terrace, just have a little bit back. Nothing less than for this. Good, it's a good area for our life.
So one thing, just to be clear, in terms of the activities that are okay in the buffer, the way this thing's ordinance is set up, it says the following activities shall be permitted. Provided they do not require structures, grading, fill, draining, or dredging. So I don't know, patios would be built back there without requiring grading.
Yeah, I don't think there's some people spent that there. I think that anything, these, looking at the back of the house, you can see that one portion of the house falls up further than the other.
Yeah.
And if you drew a straight for the sunrise, there probably is going to be some patio area back there, but not beyond.
Okay, yeah, well, that will also be something too. There is construction. Sure.
Right, and that would be the purpose. By using the buffer, now we have the right to development in the space with the, if the buffer is from 150, now that those protections.
Right, right. Although that 50-foot zone, that's going to be kind of tricky, because the 50-foot zone should be to the closest point, right? It's not, no, it's not 50 foot, it's 40 foot, right? So you basically have a variance that lets you reduce the size of buffer up to 40. The other pieces of it are still
But right now, I was the very closest to get to the actual delineated wetland is 55 feet.
that's that
Technically, so
corner.
with the 40 feet, that's technically 15 feet to play within that direction.
But again, the clarifying point there that I was going to make is, as it relates to like grading, you have to grade around the first. But I guess what it's not like the variance allows us to treat up to the wetland as if there's still a buffer. The buffer is restricted based on.
Yeah, the buffer relates to the area immediately around the house. It doesn't relate to other areas where it's still, it's still a, I mean, the variance, remember, is the minimum amount required. So if there's a delineated wetland further to the east, further to the west, that isn't near the house, or you're still talking about it. Yeah. Yes.
There was a research for these proceedings and ones before, trying to find somebody that could tell me the significance of 100-foot. And I have yet to find anybody that can tell me what the significance of 100 foot from the wetland is, and why 100 foot would be established. Can you, is this group have any understanding of why?
It'd be like, asking why are the frontage setbacks 25 feet? You try to, I think when you're setting up an ordinance, like, you should try to, look at things that relate to it and then sort of make sense to everybody.
The answer is 50 is too low, 200. As far as I can.
I think one of the public comments, something
Yeah.
said that actually it isn't arbitrary necessarily, because the DEC does suggest in its freshwater wetland program recent area.
It's one of the things that I was, your history with that property. What's the worst is ever? But have you been back in there when there's just more water than other than how what are you talking sure that you talk about how there's plenty of time for the things to sort of seep into the ground before they get in the wetland, but that's true.
And now we we were rummaging around over there and in that area long before, houses and apartments were developed there in the west. Down on Prospect Street. Down on Prospect Street, there would be, along that we would ride two-wheelers, motorcycles in there, and there would be areas that where there was standing water. You get further to the west, then it's better dry, it's like forest, so. Our area of the designated wetland, there's never water.
It's almost, I wish that we could follow through and have that go further. You know, think that they would have done that, but it's so expensive to have it all delineated. We only went with what we thought we would need for placement of a house. Because if you also look there, there's actually a sluice pipe that is dumping water onto that area. And that is also, and it creates a cesspool of water that just sits there. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is the fact that if it weren't for that water that was in there, I think we could have pushed that even further with the delineation. But they wanted to kind of $15,000 to do that. And we thought we pushed that far enough without trying to do something.
2012, they essentially fly 58,000 feet above grade, and taking grade is probably blob on a map. And that's how it's projected. Yes, Prospect Street, all these houses are right in the wetland. And honestly, if you walk in the spring and the fall, that's the wetland. You go down on Prospect Street and you convert towards sunrise. And so, it is a little frustrating at times. Trying to do the right thing, trying not to develop a wetland, but these big broad brush governmental strokes of
Do you know what technique Delta used to delineate?
they came out and they looked for species of plants that may typically be found in a wetland.
Yeah, I used to do that, and it's remarkable how precise it can be.
Yeah, so what they said is actually almost like an old runs down through the property towards Prospect Street. And if you go down towards Prospect Street, you can actually see what that is. They suggested it probably wouldn't have had those species had water not been discharged into it, which is maintaining some amount of moisture over a continuous period of time. Probably fostering that growth, but they were discharging coming out and observing things. So it was their place to say this shouldn't be a wetland, but it was.
All right, so one of the things we should do is take through these things in section 6. I'm sorry. The 605.2 project review criteria. So let's just go through this and say we can reach a quick agreement on which one, yes or no. Whether we have basically what this section says is we shall consider the impact. 1 through 8. Shall consider. So first is the ability of the wetland to filter harmful toxins, nutrients, and sediment from the surface and stone. Well, we certainly consider. I think the purpose of the buffer is in part to enhance that. So we're really not considering the wetland. So, yeah.
The only thing I would say to that was if there's clearing. Filter, long filters, that's like. But in terms of the time, maybe that will impact the wetland, so.
Okay, so number one, we'll consider. Move on. Number two, the ability of the wetland to store flood water. Some magnitude of flood. That one's right to the soil. Yeah. Certainly not impacted by this. Okay, the ability of the wetland to provide valuable habitat for the diverse species. This project is.
Let's say just to minimize the fragmentation of. Right, further fragmentation of the size of coastal. Kind of towards that.
Number four, the ability of the wetland to maintain surface water flow during dry periods. Okay, the impact of any excessive situation resulting from surface runoff. Oh, excessive siltation, right, resulting from surface runoff, construction sites, road, bridge, and pipeline construction, and lack of erosion. I mean, we have talked about trying to avert. Consider that the impact of pollution by road salt or chemical pollution. Parking lots and treated lawns. That's going to be an issue here. The impact of pollution by garbage and litter and refuse. That's going to be controlled just by state practice. The impact of a reduction in flow of water courses due to destruction. This isn't just one. Consider it, but we can also say right. So I think the only one there's further decide to do that would be the farm. Pipeline construction. Some of that applies, and if it doesn't, diverting runoff is going to address that.
There really aren't steep slopes.
There are no steep slopes, so we don't have to do erosion control. Isn't an issue. It's really just the surface runoff. From impermeable surfaces.
Second practice during construction when there is.
Anything else? Okay. I think we've covered all issues that need to be discussed. We asked questions. you know, I think we're to the point now where prove this, what conditions we feel comfortable that we're honoring wetland overlay district.
I think the first condition, just talk about this, is the invisible surface of. The stormwater runoff is more. We were saying that.
It's an easy concession to make.
Since it slopes that way. Okay. And that would include not just the roof, but future improvement.
Nice range from the back here. This right there.
Are you
Yeah,
looking
no,
at
some
this?
kind of like a rock, it's developing kind of their low area.
See how we can,
Okay,
we make it, we make them.
okay.
Okay, other ideas or things that. Yeah. What's that?
Fortunately, to build it.
A rain
I don't
garden.
think that's what they're.
Plant our favorite apple trees.
I'll come out.
Rain garden is broad.
Yeah, I don't even think it's necessary. From the sound of the property that I have, over like block time. Standing water, then something like that.
Anything that we need to, we talked a little bit about, construction process and staging. Anything that makes sense. You know, sort of look to that. My experience, you know, I think construction of the house, a couple of pickups and, very little equipment, some ladders. And now it seems to me that, so I don't know if there are things, Tom, are there other things that, you know, make sense for us to?
That's sort of the only thing.
Or code, you know?
Well, you know, there's code requirements for so for instance, if your slope is above 4%. That's well. Not, you know, it's a good practice, for instance, if all the soil is exposed, if there's catastrophic rain like we had in October, then there's this outside possibility that any runoff from the site could get beyond the grassy area. But we're talking a whole lot of it. But, you know, that would be one thing that would merit consideration. Is that, and putting in silt fences isn't a huge job.
that southeast corner.
In that corner that's close.
So you mentioned before, you have that long driveway. You're gonna want to protect the
This doesn't fall under the restrictions category, but I would like to just, I am concerned about the interface of this side of the building to the Sunrise Terrace turnaround. And I just am hoping that you have some good landscape advice on how that area relates. In other words, I heard hedgerow, but I think that could be done in a sensitive way or in an insensitive way, and so I'm just getting my oar in the water there, that's all.
I think what the common road exists. And so, I think the heavy landscape should.
Mhm.
On the north end of that hedgerow, there already built out and
just along the pretty long driveway.
all in collaboration with the. So how did that interface between Sunrise Terrace and the edge of property there? Is the plan there for landscaping to sort of shield that? What's the thinking on that?
Maybe doing the fence and then having some shrubbery on our side, some nice plantings of shrubbery in there. We've talked a little bit with this one of the, talking about, the potential movement to go over the sewer and it's part of us cleaning up that road. And, we don't have any problems with keeping it open, it's just also want some privacy, being that's going to be kind of be a little bit of our backyard.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's sort of what I was thinking. One of the reasons for the putting it back here is the privacy. That's sort of glaring, spot.
Right, but right now it's kind of just junky stuff. So we might clean that junky stuff up and just kind of do what we did down the road, whether it's our buildings or whether it's, flowering drugs, that type of stuff is what we hope to put. We can be doing something low privacy, that's just the kind of the people that walk out and maybe walk down to the lines and what we put down. That's what it's doing.
So the plan is in development, but I guarantee you it'll be a lot better.
All right, so what do people think about the silk fence? How would we style it?
I think they've had a good start to it. And if we're something, this is not a code requirement. I can't say you must do that. And I'm thinking more of just how we describe it.
Yeah.
Is it not,
We just describe it like the typical, stormwater practice standards. I mean, that kind of takes the flexibility of your time to work through it. Stormwater.
That's a pretty interesting section.
Right. It's pretty great.
So a typical stormwater practice, south side.
So silt fence is required to keep.
So the biggest way to prevent silt and salt and what have you from going into the wetland is to divert the water that runs down. It's not your responsibility, like, so obvious. It's salted, impervious. Stronger, it's straight shot down. So I can imagine that water, there's a lot of water. And you look at the site and the top of that, and the water can go both ways easily. And then that would be exponential work. Or if they decide to put it next to. Once again, that's not your responsibility. Well, we don't want to make the situation worse. Right.
Now, so are there storm drains on? I don't know. I don't go around looking for it.
There's a sewer one.
So, storm sewer and sewer. They fall off against, yeah, I have no. Shock. Okay. Storm sewer.
All right, well, with that in this mind. So. I think my sense. And with two main conditions. One is to away from the wetland to the north. And the second is to install a silt fence as required to stop stormwater incursion. Only during construction.
During construction.
During construction. Right. Mhm. Okay. Before we go any further, back to the so now we have basically come to what I think is going to be. So look back at, some things that we raised, potential issues that we can now conclude, I believe, that so that we don't need to comfortable saying
As was moved by member Alberg and seconded by member Kuchar before to move.
But I appreciate the conversation and discussion.
so we've got that motion. Discussion. All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right, so we have.
Perfect. So
So out of that one. All right, now, in terms of getting a motion to approve the action, we need that. Wording, have you got?
Yeah.
Hit one of them that
Yeah.
we have?
do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we can edit it. Okay, a motion made by undetermined member to approve the site plan as proposed with the condition that runoff from impervious surfaces be mitigated away from the wetlands and in specific that the roof slope toward the north. And silt fences be used during construction so as to keep stormwater from encroaching on the wetland. The roof part was specific. What? I said impervious, from impervious surfaces be mitigated away from the wetlands.
Okay, we don't necessarily care about the roof. So,
Do we not? It was said once,
yeah, I
so,
think it is that the idea would be that the runoff. would be to-
so, impervious surfaces and roof be diverted toward the north. Okay,
Yeah.
with the condition that runoff
With,
from
you
impervious
know,
surfaces
then
and the roof.
Construction process, they can figure out what's the best.
Cool. Be mitigated away. from- Diverted.
Yeah, the verbiage is. All right, and on the silt fence,
So that was a semicolon, and silt fences be used during construction so as to keep stormwater from encroaching on the wetland.
Mhm.
I just want to clarify. I'm thinking about the site, so we're saying north, but or should we say away from the buffer, because as you start to, I don't know that, I mean, I could walk over there and look around, but you want to pick the ideal spot. It might be northwest, it might be, but as you, I think that there's probably going to be a sweet spot to put away from the buffer.
yeah, no, I was thinking, you're right, that's a very good point. There's no reason it has to be north,
I think-
compass north, it needs to be.
It just says
away
different.
from the buffer.
Diverted away from the wetlands, or are the impervious in the roof away from the wetlands or away from the buffer? Same thing.
I think it's pretty much, this is- the buffer is defined by the.
I just want the builder to be able to pick the most advantageous location to get the water away from the, in the best way.
Okay.
You comfortable? We got our
I'm
motion,
comfortable.
okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Good job,
All right.
Jessica.
Hey,
All
Thank
in
you.
favor?
wait, who's moving it?
Michelle. Second.
Second.
John. Further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously with those conditions. And from here on, we'll be in unbelievably competent hands of our professional staff. And,
I'm gonna
And
run
now-
and fetch the minutes. I'm gonna run and fetch the minutes.
okay, yes, right, okay.
And I just heard the comprehensive plan get all delighted that there's a single family home. being built. That's on the record.
Yeah, go play volleyball.
But we're not done tonight.
You know, I think for your purpose.
Periodically, print a bunch of those, give it away.
Okay, so we do have a couple more agenda items on here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Wondering and worried.
Thank you. See ya. Okay, Eddie, I know we've been here for a while.
But I know they were.
I'm gonna sneak in here some night and change that clock so you can read it.
It's an awkward thing.
Yeah.
All right, is there any new business? I just wanted to ask Mark, how's the CP's meeting stuff.
Well, it couldn't even get on for the last meeting because of what they did set up the Zoom, right? I was doing it remotely, so I completely missed the last one.
Oh, okay.
Quite honestly, it is like interminable and stuff, but I'm perfectly frank, I don't enjoy it at all. I do enjoy being on this committee, but get through it, but I haven't really, like, saying much or doing the.
Is it, I mean,
You're still recording.
you probably. That's okay, we're still in the meeting because business is over.
Great.
That's fine. I'll do perfectly, right? That's right.
Well, I'm glad you're, but I'm still glad you're on that committee.
That's very frustrating.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're meeting regularly. Do they seem to have taken apart the notion of kind of visualizing things and modeling?
Yeah, yeah, that was, they do
Yeah.
Is the membership stable at this point?
of that committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
What do you mean by stable?
Very diligent. It's so complex.
It is. It's a huge job.
Yeah.
Very complicated. Part of why. I get things, so they're not just in words. You know?
Yeah, here.
My pet issue that I keep beating to death with that I was the home business thing and I was thinking about maybe sending Ben an email just as a private, or talking to him. But you had put an idea in my head about how could we, most home businesses are not going to have any impact on the residential next to them at all, right? 98. But you had said something, Rick, how can you, what would be a distinguishing characteristics that might throw a home business? And one thought I was going to maybe share with Ben is, to my mind, maybe a home business that's going to attract a lot of customers should have to submit a plan or an idea of how, not a requirement, but just they have to submit, or there has to be some procedure for how they perceive that parking or cars are going to come to that business. It would only kick in such a limited number of home businesses that I don't think it would be onerous for somebody to take a look at the plan. But I'm just concerned that there could be a home business that would have a large impact on a residential area, and that there's no vehicle for looking at that.
Well, there was a case where I think it was the planning board that rejected a movement by, what's the name of the building that's at the top of old Route 96?
Top of Old Main,
Say again?
the top of Old Main, that building?
Yeah,
So that big yellow thing that was the former part of the generating or something.
they wanted to
They
have,
wanted
they wanted to have musical events there,
Oh, yeah.
and that was considered, no, it's going to draw an audience that's going to park behind the building.
Yeah, that's the house. itself.
Yes, McLeod, right.
Right.
Yeah, no, not the one that's perched over
It's not that
the
one,
across
it's
from
on the other
that.
side of the street,
It used to be a B and B.
Really? Yeah.
yeah,
So not the yard house.
yeah. And they were gonna write them.
Previous owner.
The previous
current language that we looked at, there was no distinction, and there was, I see why Ben and the committee might not want to get into like a prescribed parking that you have to have when it's not necessary. But there might, you know, what, I'm sorry,
Yeah, that building, that part.
yeah. Well, it's not only parking, it's really noise or other things that come with it. But anyhow, that, like, I think I'm too much.
Well, I'm glad you're persevering.
I was not the next door neighbor, that, but I was.
So isn't that, I mean, because that was, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So the climate of the community and its appetites have changed. You know, we now have Porch Fest. We didn't have that 10 years ago.
Okay, any other old business? New business?
So I can see why you didn't remember them, because there was no action. The last meeting was the approval of minutes, and then Darker came and there was that discussion. And as of now, especially with the recordings, we're just doing Robert's rules action only
Okay,
minutes. So
okay, so we don't have to approve.
we need to approve these.
Oh, okay. So is there a motion to, have you all had a chance to look at these?
I just put in front of you, right?
Oh.
So these are the minutes of the last meeting,
These are the minutes of the meeting.
September 22nd, in which minutes were approved from August and in which the meeting adjourned. But it does note, and this is interesting because if someone is doing history, right, who is also present? Well, the chair of the comprehensive plan. Okay, well, let me look at the agenda. Let's see what they talked about. Now maybe I want to look at the meeting recording. I mean, it's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what minutes are for.
Yeah.
So it's good to know.
Yeah.
Tell them what happened. if they- all right. Moved by John. Seconded by Mark. All in favor?
Thank you.
And please, thank you, first of all, thank you all very much for your attention to this. And it was unique in my experience. You know, a lot of years. of doing things, and I can't remember. We had one in the Atlas. and, that had to do with that curve. Have this, you know, single family residence. Sort of, you know, applying. The site plan standards. I'm glad we did it, and thank you for the conversation, for the attention to the important that we take care of, you know, stuff that the motion to adjourn.
There we go.
A lot of motions.
Yeah.
Yeah, made up for
All in
last.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you again. All right. we can move on.
Okay, thank you.